Hey guys, welcome back, I'm Jay. In this episode, we're going to look at AWS serverless concepts, AWS Lambda and API Gateway. Serverless is a cloud computing model that abstracts the underlying infrastructure and platforms, such as operating systems, networks, and hardware. You can provision compute capacity without managing any servers. AWS dynamically allocates computing capacity for your application, so that you can focus on building the functionality of the application. With a traditional computing model, you need to pay for the running hours of your servers, even when they're idle. With the serverless model, you only pay for compute resources when your application is requested. Serverless computing scales automatically with on-demand compute capacity. AWS automatically provisions the compute resources when needed behind the scene. AWS Lambda is a serverless compute service that lets you run application code in different programming languages. Amazon API Gateway is a serverless API service that makes it easy for developers to create and manage APIs at scale. Amazon DynamoDB is a serverless NoSQL database that delivers single-digit millisecond performance at scale. Let's look at how the serverless model works. Suppose you have a shopping website running 24/7 on a fleet of EC2 instances. These instances can automatically scale depending on the traffic. However, you still have a minimum number of instances running, even when there's no traffic. You need to pay for these compute resources. You need to manually perform administrative tasks, such as resource provisioning, system patching and updating. Services like Elastic Beanstalk, CloudFormation, and AWS Systems Manager can help you reduce the operational overheads. However, here are still a handful of manual tasks required. With a serverless approach, you can forget about servers and administrative tasks completely. Serverless applications have more elasticity than non-serverless applications. The term serverless doesn't mean there's no server. In fact, there are thousands of underlying servers. These servers are highly scalable and available managed by AWS. A serverless application might share the same underlying hardware with other applications. However, each serverless application is running on an isolated execution environment, which ensures that it cannot access data in other environments. Serverless compute resources can dynamically scale out in response to the demand increase, and scale in when there is no request. The application only consumes compute resources as needed. You only pay for the time that your application is responding to the requests. If there is no request, you don't need to pay for any compute resources at all. Serverless also helps you decouple complex business logic from traditional monolithic applications. You can leverage microservice architecture, and develop and deploy application code directly into serverless environments, without provisioning and maintaining any servers. Serverless model helps simplify the software development lifecycle, and improve the time to market. AWS Lambda is the serverless compute service that lets you run your application code without provisioning or managing any servers. You can simply upload the code to Lambda. Lambda runs your code on highly available computing resources, and automatically manages operating systems, compute capacity, and auto-scaling. Lambda supports many programming languages, including Java, Python, Ruby, Node.js, PowerShell, C#, and Go. Lambda has built-in fault tolerance, as it maintains compute capacity across multiple availability zones in each region. Lambda runs code in parallel, and automatically scales to support incoming requests. There is no limit to the number of requests your code can handle. Lambda runs code on high-performance servers, designed to process events within milliseconds. You only pay for the total requests that your Lambda functions handle, based on per million request rate, and the compute time based on per gigabyte second compute time. You're billed in increments of 100 milliseconds. The cost of 1 million requests is approximately 20 cents. Lambda also gives you free tier usage of 1 million requests, and 400,000 gigabyte seconds of compute time per month. The resource you invoke to run your code is called the Lambda function. Lambda function is event-driven. After you create your Lambda function, it's always ready to run, and waiting to be triggered by an event source. A trigger can be an AWS service, such as Amazon S3, API Gateway, DynamoDB, CloudWatch, SNS, SQS, or another Lambda function. You can also configure third-party event sources via Amazon Event Bridge. You can add more than one trigger to a Lambda function. Lambda functions are stateless, with no affinity to the underlying infrastructure. For instance, Lambda functions don't store any session information. Lambda function can scale to handle multiple requests within the concurrency limit. Concurrency means how many requests Lambda function can process at a given time. It's subject to a regional limit that is shared by all functions in a region. The default concurrency limit is 1000, with 3000 burst concurrency. You can request to increase the limit using the AWS Support Console. You can orchestrate multiple Lambda functions using AWS Step Functions to perform complex tasks or long-running workloads. Step Functions is another AWS service that lets you define workflows and trigger a collection of Lambda functions using parallel, sequential, and branching steps. API stands for Application Programming Interface. It's a computing interface which defines interactions between multiple software intermediaries. API acts as the front door for your application data or business logic from the backend services. For instance, REST API is the most popular web API style, supporting HTTP methods such as GET, POST, PUT, and DELETE, with JSON formatted payload. Here's how API works. Suppose you are searching for the latest news about the Spider-Man movie on the web. After you enter the keyword Spider-Man on the search bar of the browser, the browser sends the keyword in an HTTP request to the search engine API. The search engine needs to crawl relevant information about Spider-Man on many external sources, such as movie sites, news sites, and fan pages. Communication between the browser and search engine use the defined API protocols. The search engine API hides away communication between the search engine and external sources. Other websites process the requests and send the response back to the search engine. The search engine then processes the response and sends the most relevant information about Spider-Man back to the browser. APIs enable interactions between different systems in a simple and unified way, so that every system understands each other. Amazon API Gateway is a fully managed API service that makes it easy for developers to create, manage, and monitor APIs at scale. With API Gateway, you don't need to provision any servers to create APIs. API Gateway supports containerized and serverless backend workloads, as well as web applications, such as applications running on EC2, Lambda, and ECS. You can easily create REST API, HTTP API, and WebSocket API with API Gateway. A REST API is a collection of HTTP resources and methods that are integrated with backend services. HTTP APIs enable you to create RESTful APIs with lower latency and cost than REST APIs. WebSocket APIs enable bidirectional communication that is ideal for real-time two-way applications, such as chat apps, multiplayer games, and financial trading platforms. API Gateway provides end users with the lowest possible latency for API requests and responses. It leverages AWS global network of edge locations using Amazon CloudFront behind the scenes. API Gateway is integrated with many backend AWS services, such as AWS Lambda, Amazon DynamoDB, Amazon EC2, ECS, Elastic Load Balancing, Amazon SQS, SNS, and AWS Machine Learning Services. API Gateway exposes secure HTTP endpoints in front of these AWS services. You can use API Gateway to generate an SSL certificate. You can also use AWS Web Application Firewall or WAF to protect API endpoints from common web exploits, such as SQL injection, or cross-site scripting. You can authorize access to APIs with AWS IAM and Amazon Cognito. If your application uses OAuth tokens, API Gateway offers native OIDC and OAuth 2 support. To support custom authorization requirements, you can execute a Lambda authorizer. You can make your APIs private, and limit the access from Amazon VPC only. You can also control the API usage, by creating usage plans and API keys for your customers. Let's look at the serverless architecture and traditional architecture. Suppose you have created a high availability setup for your e-commerce website. In a traditional architecture, you have an application load balancer sitting in front of application servers. The application is a monolithic application which contains front-end static code, API endpoints, and back-end logic running on EC2 instances. These EC2 instances are in auto-scaling group behind the application load balancer. Data are stored in RDS databases connect to EC2 instances. You have a primary RDS instance for read and write operations, and a few read replicas for heavy read operations, and a standby RDS in a different availability zone for high availability. With this approach, you always have an application load balancer and a minimum number of EC2 and RDS instances running. You need to pay for underutilized resources. You are responsible to manage and maintain these resources, such as system patches and updates, backups and snapshots, configuring scaling and high availability. In a serverless architecture, you can host static code of the front-end web application on an S3 bucket. S3 is a highly available and scalable solution for hosting static websites. The front-end application can communicate with the API endpoints provided by API Gateway. API Gateway is a highly scalable and secure API service. API Gateway can provide HTTP endpoints for backend Lambda Functions in DynamoDB. Lambda is a high-performance serverless compute service. DynamoDB is the petabyte-scale NoSQL database with built-in multi-AZ high availability. With the serverless approach, you only pay for what you consume. You have no server to manage and maintain. AWS manages auto-scaling and high availability for you, so that you can focus on developing better features of your application and delivering more values to your customers. In this episode, we've learned serverless concepts on AWS. Serverless enables you to leverage cloud computing resources without provisioning any servers. AWS offers a few serverless services, including AWS Lambda, Amazon API Gateway, and DynamoDB. Lambda is the serverless compute service that lets you can run application code in different programming languages, without provisioning any servers. API Gateway is a fully managed API service that makes it easy to create and manage APIs at scale. Both Lambda and API Gateway are integrated with many AWS services. Okay, that's all for AWS Serverless. Thanks for watching and see you in the next episode.
Hope you've enjoyed watching this episode. If you liked the video, please help us and hit the like button. If you want to watch more tutorials, please subscribe to the Cloudemy TV channel. Make sure to turn on the notification and stay tuned. At Cloudemy, we're passionate about cloud and AI technology. Please share your feedback and thoughts in the comments below. Feel free to let us know what topics you'd like to watch. Happy watching and happy learning.